put your devices away. That's tough. I don't have yours. Yes, you do. Put it away. Put it away.
Hold it. Aiden texted me, where am I?
And tell them in class and leave you alone. All right, so today we're going to be talking about cost, revenue, and profit. Those words themselves, you guys should understand. When something costs something, it costs money. Revenue, maybe you haven't heard that word, but that's how much money you make off of something. Profit is also something, how much you make off of something, and they're a little bit different, but this will, the unit will, profit equals the revenue, everything that you bring in minus the cost. So if you own a restaurant and let's say you bring in, I'm just going to use round numbers, $10,000 in food sales in a week, but it costs you $8,000 to run a place, what's your profit going to be? So you take 8,000 or 10,000 minus 8,000. So what would your profit be? $2,000. Oh, you said $2,000. Okay. So your profit would be $2,000. So we're going to explain like kind of how this works in economic terms. This is just by the end of the lesson. So this is kind of what you should be knowing by the end of the lesson. Okay, so the quiz is just about done. That'll be a nice review for you guys on the concept of supply. And the chapter review is also there. And I do have printouts. I gave them to Joe. Rachel, I have them for you too. And you should have them from last week. You do have the chapters from last week because I printed out everything. But I'll get you the chapter 5 review also.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Yep, I'll get that to you. And I have that. Okay, so remember we're looking at law of supply. Being able to understand a supply curve, and there's samples of that in the slideshows. Talking about goods that are elastic versus inelastic. These are things we'll cover tomorrow too in the review. And looking at different things that can shift a supply curve. This is from yesterday. This isn't my slideshow. I had to copy it. Okay. So cost of production. So there's different kinds of costs when you own a business. And so we're going to go through these. These are part of the vocab. Here, since you guys are here. I will give you this. Joe, you have this already. Sorry guys at home, just 1 second. Lesson 3. So a fixed cost is something that stays the same no matter what. So fixed cost examples would be, I'm trying to think of a good example. Rent. Rent is a fixed cost. So let's say you own a business, but you don't own the building. You're renting the building. That is going to be a fixed cost. It's going to be the same thing every month. Like my mortgage is the same every month. The mortgage, even if you own a business and you own the building, most of the time you're probably going to have a mortgage. So that's a fixed cost. That's not really going to change. It might even be something like gas. Like even though my gas changes yearly, my monthly costs are the same every month because we're like on a payment plan. A lot of places in town, depending on the gas company you work with, you pay X amount of dollars per month. So those are fixed costs. They don't change. Variable costs are costs that could rise or fall depending on the quantity produced. And variable costs would be, for example, employees. So if you own a Culver's branch here, if you own the Culver's branch here in Monroe, chances are there are certain times of year where you need more employees working, or certain even days of the year. I know that they look at like school schedules and see when there's events and things like that, and they'll have more people working nights after there's an event than they would have on a night where there's not an event. So that's a variable cost. Sometimes their employees cost them more. Sometimes their employees cost them less. Does that make sense to everybody? So fixed it stays the same, and variable is something that changes. Total cost would be the cost of all those things added together. So free kitten. You'll pay for its food and medical bills. Haven't you ever heard of total cost of ownership? So free kitten, I want them all. So this is just showing that, when you're starting a business, even though something might look low cost, you always have to think about all the costs involved. I know, having kittens and a dog myself, that there are definitely costs associated with that, that maybe are hidden costs at the start. Marginal costs, when you're looking at that word marginal in economics, you're always looking at the cost, or you're always looking at producing or purchasing one more unit of a good. So this graph just shows you that a marginal cost, so producing one more thing and what that's going to cost the company. So this is the average cost. And now if you add one more unit to producing one more unit, these are going to be your costs. So it's going to change it. With a change this big and just adding one unit, you're probably looking at a bigger product. If you're looking at fast food and producing one more hamburger, that's going to probably not change anything a whole lot. Okay, how much to produce? So once again, you probably will have to read some charts and graphs on the test. So this is looking at, once again, the average cost, total cost divided by the quantity produced. There's a chart here. You guys can take a look at that. This one is not in your book. This is from the old book, but it's better than the ones provided in the new book. So this might be where you want to take a look at the slideshows. Oh, before you guys leave today, let me get those printed out for you, okay? So this is looking at producing bean bags. A firm considers a variety of costs when deciding how much to produce. Why is the marginal revenue always equal to $24? So let's look at that. So marginal revenue price, that's the market price of something. And how many bean bags are you producing? So let me start over. So you're going to make some bean bags. Fixed costs means fixed costs are the things it's going to cost every time you make one bean bag. It's going to cost you $36. There are no variable costs if you're producing 0 bean bags, because there's nothing that's varying there. It's just going to be the same. But when you're making 1 bean bag per hour, now it's going to cost you $8, and so on and so forth. Your total cost will be that fixed cost plus the variable cost. Your marginal cost, if you look, and we say when you're producing one more. So when you're producing one more bean bag, your marginal cost will be $8. When you're producing 2 more, it'll be $4. 3 more, it'll be $3. And then it starts going up again. Your marginal revenue is the market price. So that's how much you're bringing in from each product. That doesn't change. Your revenue is, for each bean bag, I'm going to make $24. Total revenue, you just take how many you're selling times the marginal revenue, and your profit then is that last column. So if you look at that last column, you want to optimize your profit. And I know it's really hard for you guys to see where you are. You guys at home might be having a little bit better chance, but your profit, the most profit you can make is $98. So, and that's producing 9 bean bags an hour. After that, by adding more bean bags, you don't make any more money. So the gist of this whole thing, even though it's a little bit complicated to see via this, is that when you're reading these charts and graphs, I might ask, where's your maximum profit that you can make? How many products would you be making? So you would look at this column that says profit, and you'd find the largest number, which is 98, with the smallest amount of costs. So it's 9. And tomorrow when we do the review, we'll do some practice on that so it makes a little bit more sense. But do you guys understand these 3 things? Revenue, cost, and profit. Does that make sense to you guys? So revenue is how much money you're bringing in. Cost is how much money is going out. So your profit is going to be money coming in minus money going out equals your total profit. And that's at its basic level how business works. So basically, when you're starting a business, so if you're starting a hair salon, or a studio or something like that, where you're going to offer lots of services, you'll have to look at how much do I need to charge in order to make a profit? Because what happens if you're not making a profit? Yeah, then you're operating at a loss, so these negative numbers, and you're not going to stay in business for very long if you're operating at a loss. Okay. Anybody have questions? Anybody at home have any questions? Okay. Okay. Finding marginal revenue. So I'm going to kind of flip back and forth. So when you look here, finding that marginal revenue, finding that market price, how do we do that? So basically what we're asking is, how do we find that price that's going to be the right price to charge for something? So average revenue is the price that every unit of output sells for. So this is a big number. You're looking at, what's a product? What product should we use? What's something teenagers buy a lot of? Give me a food item that you guys buy a lot of.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. So we're opening a new restaurant. Maybe it's not a Taco Bell, maybe it's a Mexican restaurant, and we're looking how much to charge for each taco. So we need to find what the average price is for tacos. Total revenue, total amount earned by a firm for the sale of its products. Obviously, you'd be selling more than tacos, but let's just say you're just selling tacos. Maybe you open a food stand on the square in the summer and you're only selling tacos. Total revenue is how much money you're bringing in after cost. Marginal revenue, extra revenue from the sale of just one additional unit of output. So if you sell one more taco than you're usually selling, how much profit are you going to make? Does that make sense? Kind of. Trust me, I promise on the test, I won't my goal is not to confuse you. My goal is to make sure that you understand concepts without confusing you, okay? Because I know this stuff can be very confusing. Profit maximizing quantity of output. I believe that's one of your vocab words. Level of production where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. Break even point. Production level where total cost equals total revenue. Production needed if firm is to recover its costs. So let's go back to this one. So, and like I said, I know you guys here in the classroom. Total cost minus total cost, marginal cost, total revenue. So in this scenario, they only need to sell 2 bean bags to break even. So their break even point is selling 2 bean bags. I don't know why they use bean bags, 2 tacos, whatever. But in order to make a profit, they need to sell more than that. So that's what businesses are always looking for. They're looking at that break-even point, and how do we get past that? Because can a business survive just at break-even? Not really, because then nobody's really making a profit. Can you operate at break-even for a while? Yeah. Especially if you're giving yourself a salary, which you should. Like if you ever own your own business, you want to pay yourself. Meaning that if your workers are making, I'm just going to say $10 an hour, you're making $10 an hour. So you're paying yourself. But you don't want to break even. You want to make a profit. So you want to get 1 unit past that break even point at least to make a profit. Okay, when do you shut down? Operating costs, total cost of operating a facility such as a store or a factory. So if you look here at this little one on the bottom, a firm should remain open if total revenue from the goods and services the factory produces is greater than the cost of keeping it open. There's little pictures here of going out of sale. And if you've ever seen this movie, even though it's a cutesy movie with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, it's basically about a little bookstore running in a big city, and then like a Barnes and Noble's opens down the street from it. And can that store break even? And then can they make a profit to stay in business? I forget the percentage. It's something crazy, like 80% of all small businesses go out of business within the first year. That's a lot, right? It might be more. Go ahead.
What number did you say?
I said 80. That's a guess, and it's a high number.
In the first 5 years, I know that 80% of small businesses go.
But you learned that in a business class. Okay, so Rachel just said that Miss Bartles, who teaches business, said about 80%. I think it might even be a little higher than that, but
it's like 80 or 90%.
yeah, most small businesses will not survive past their first 5 years. A lot of times what happens then is they'll open up another business that's similar to it, or they'll make some changes to a business. Has anyone been to Monroe's Midwest yet, the new restaurant here in town? It's where the Laughing Trout was.
Freeport opened a new car wash, and it's the coolest car wash that I've ever been to in my entire life.
Okay, Rachel said that there's a new car wash in Freeport that's cool.
$5.
Why is it cool?
Because so you put your car in neutral, and you drive into the track,
Yep.
and it like guides you the whole way. You don't drive at all. You don't push the brakes. Just takes
you through it.
There's all these fancy lights, and like it's so cool.
Okay, so Rachel said there's a new car wash where, unlike where you like drive into one and then you just stop, you actually get on a track and it pushes you through it, and it's all kinds of like fun, fancy lights and things like that. So the novelty of that might bring customers in, right?
Yeah,
what does it need to do to stay in business for the next 5 years? Needs to keep doing that, and the price needs to be what?
So we actually got a free car wash because when they opened, they said like for the first week on Facebook, like if you signed up, you got a free car wash.
Okay.
So that's how they were getting customers.
Yeah.
And then like obviously we thought it was super cool, so
you're gonna go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the factor of them being like, because there's not one like that around here.
Right.
And then like I don't know how much an actual car wash would be, but I'm sure it's like 12 to 15. Maybe.
It's a little less. Like in town, it's about 10, between 8 and 10.
It's like, I don't know how much a normal car wash is, so.
Okay, so Rachel said one of the things that they're going to do, and this is like a further chapter, but this is a good thing to talk about now when you're talking about profits, is they were giving out free car washes via, like, if you signed up to their Facebook page, you got a coupon, right?
Yeah.
So you got a coupon, you go and get your car washed. Why would they do that? Why would they give you something free when they're just opening and they need to be making money?
So they can keep customers, because like I said, I thought it was so cool, I'll go back.
Yeah, so Rachel said so it can keep customers, and she said it was really cool, so she's going to go back.
Like, I'm still talking about it.
Yeah. And that's something that small businesses need to do to keep people coming in. They need to offer sales, they need to offer gimmicks, they need to offer coupons. That'll keep people coming back.
Like the car wash, but on the outside they have like a ton of vacuums, like to vacuum out your car.
Yep.
So the outside, it's like there's a ton of parking stalls all around it, and you just can pull in and vacuum your car.
Okay.
Or you can like pay them to do it for you.
Yep. So Rachel's saying that there's a bunch of vacuums there, and something that is, when you have a business that's trying something new, it's trying to offer a product that people want to pay for. And are the vacuums free, or do you have to pay like a quarter?
I don't know. I didn't go there.
Okay, so she didn't know that.
I only went through like the car wash, so.
Okay. In order to stay successful, businesses need to offer those sorts of things. And I think we talk about that further in this class, but if you take business concepts or marketing, those are things you in a social or business classes that are offered here. You'll talk about all those kinds of things to how to be successful.
I took marketing and advanced marketing last year.
Okay.
And then I took another business class, but I didn't finish it because of COVID.
Oh, that's okay. What businesses in Monroe have gone out of town recently?
Black Walnut?
Black Walnut. That was a restaurant on the square. I think we talked about that in here a little bit. So there was this little restaurant on the square. It was right by Ponchos and Lefties.
That's the problem.
It was Rachel said that's part of the problem because Ponchos is so popular. Also, it was vegetarian, which in Monroe, I don't know if there's enough vegetarians in Monroe to support a small business like that. If they had added maybe meat to their menu, maybe they could have stayed in business, but maybe that went against their philosophy or whatever. So When your operating costs are more than your profit for too long of a time, you can run at a negative for a little while because generally there's loans and things supporting you, but after some point, a business is going to shut down. So, yeah. Okay, lots and lots of numbers. This goes with the stages we were talking about yesterday. I'm not even going to try to explain that while we're talking together, but once again, you're looking here where it says marginal revenue, if you guys can see that, and total profit. Once again, you want to look at that optimum number. The most that you can make for this product, whatever it is $1,300. So after that, making one more product is going to actually start costing you more money. So when you guys are doing this on the test, just feel free to ask me questions. Those of you in the classroom now, like when we start taking it tomorrow, you can ask. Those of you that are in the classroom on Monday, you could ask questions then if you didn't finish like a few of the questions. And those of you at home, I'll make sure that I'm staying logged in. So if you guys have questions when you're coming to charts and graphs, that I'm here for you and can help you through that. And we'll do some practice ones with the review tomorrow. Okay, so on the review tomorrow, these are just a couple questions that you should be able to answer. So, and we can talk about a couple of these. So what's a fixed cost for a fitness center? So what's something a fitness center would be the same every month? So think about Anytime Fitness over by Walmart. What's a fixed cost that they might have? No. The business. What's something that they have to pay every month? Probably. Electric. So yeah, so they have an electric bill every month. That's a fixed cost. That'll go up and down a little bit depending on how much they're open, but it's going to be about the same every month. What would be a variable cost for a dentist? So what would be something that would change for a dentist depending on the month? Well, sure, but why? What would be something that they have to, a cost that they have that would change?
Supplies.
So different supplies. Maybe this month we're doing more filling, so we need more supplies to do a filling, but maybe next month we're doing more cleaning of teeth, so maybe we just need more cleaning supplies. So those would be variable costs. How can you assess if you're making increasing or diminishing marginal returns at a florist shop? And I'll help you guys that one. It's making a production schedule and looking at cost, revenue, and profit. So we looked at production schedules in the first unit, and then here we're looking at cost, revenues, and profit. So basically it's putting those together. So as a business, that's what you would have to do. I'm not asking you to do that, but just understanding that this is how businesses figure out these charts, graphs, the curves. That's how businesses figure out where their optimal prices are, where their optimal costs are. Okay, so that's what you need to know about that. You don't have to create it yourself. You just have to understand that a business just doesn't go in blind. They do all these numbers ahead of time. Why is total cost important to a restaurant owner? Why would somebody need to know all their costs?
So they know like what they're spending the most on.
Okay.
And then
yep.
If they are short on money, they can look at that.
Okay, so Rachel said that business owners need to understand what they're spending the most money on. Absolutely. They need to know, wait, what was the second thing you said? Because that was right too.
So if they're like short on money, they know what they can, if they possibly can cut down costs on something else. She
said also if they're short or if they're going to be operating at a loss, they need to figure that out so that they can make some changes. So ultimately, they need to make a profit in order to stay in business. So they need to know what the costs are, how to bring in enough revenue to pay for the costs. So they might have to alter how much they're charging for things. I have a question. I'm going to throw a little wrench in there. Why would a business owner lower the price of something in order to make more money? Demand. Good, Rachel. So Rachel said demand. So what happens to demand if the cost goes down?
A lot of people are probably gonna buy it because it's cheaper.
Yeah, demand goes up if the cost goes
Like
down.
there could be something that's like double the price, but because it is cheaper and it's what they want, like they will go for that instead of like
Yep.
the more expensive item. And at the end of the day, you're gonna make more money because more people are buying cheaper stuff.
Okay, so Rachel just said, she explained the whole theory and she was right. And she said, basically, if you're bringing in more customers and they're buying more overall, you're going to still make more money, even if it costs the customer a little less. Another thing that business owners do, if you're thinking about restaurants, and I worked at a restaurant for a really long time. This was a long time ago, but soda, when you buy a soda at a fast food restaurant or at a restaurant, how much do they charge you?
$1 at McDonald's.
McDonald's is $1, but most places, if you get a large, it's usually
Like
$1.50, $1.75,
sometimes depending on the cup size, it's like $2.19.
or $2.19. Yeah, they always do like 19 or 29. That's a marketing thing. We don't need to talk about that here. Did you know that a large soda costs a big, like the big, huge one at McDonald's, probably costs them about 20 cents? So McDonald's only charges $1, but most places charge more than that. Now, if they lower the price on something, so let's say just a local restaurant, you've got your taco stand on the square, and you're not selling enough tacos. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to cut the price of my tacos by 25 cents. So they were $2, now they're $1.75. And sometimes that'll do it because people, it's not $2 anymore. So people will be like, oh yeah, it's a good price. How could they make up for that? So they were selling a can of soda for $1. What could they do? No, the can of soda, they might actually increase the price. So that taco is now, $1.50 or $1.75, but now I'm paying $2 for a soda. And people don't think about that. They're like, well, I need something to drink, so I'm going to pay the $2 for the soda. So the business owner is still making a good profit, even though that their taco prices are less.
When I started doing my own nails, I realized how much, like, I was kind of like throwing away my money for somebody else to do them.
Yeah.
When, like, for the price of, like, a kit, I could have gotten my nails done in salon.
But then you can do it multiple times.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But, okay, the last question. Why does the marginal cost of sandals matter to a shoe store? So why does the cost of making one more pair of shoes matter? Once again, you go back to here. So let's just say that these are, well, this is workers, but let's just pretend.
More time.
Workers, product, total product. Okay. So you've got, let's say you're selling 144 pairs of shoes, and our profit at the end is $1,300. What we need to know is that making one more pair of shoes, we're actually gonna start losing money after that. So when you're looking at this question here, why does marginal cost of sandals matter more? It's because when you do this production chart, you have to know at what point does it not make any more sense to purchase or to make more shoes. Somebody had a question. Nobody had a question?
No, I didn't mean to hit that.
Okay, that's okay. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? So marginal cost, you're just looking at how much does it cost to make one more pair of shoes. When you're looking at that word marginal, it always means how much more or how much less is one more or one less. Does that make sense? So business owners need to know how much more it would cost to make one pair of shoes, to sell one, or to make one more taco, to make one more of whatever, to give one more manicure, whatever it is that you're selling. You always want to know how much will the next one cost at a business. And Rachel just mentioned that she bought her own manicure kit. So let's say that you're a salon, and the cost of doing one manicure, let's just say it's $50, because you have to buy a whole bunch of different things in order to do that first manicure. To do 10 manicures, your cost is only going to go up a little bit because your time is money.
Yeah.
But you have all the supplies, so you don't have those costs anymore. You just have the work. But there will come a point when you either have to buy more supplies or hire more workers to do a manicure. So now it's going to cost you more. So that's what you're looking at with those marginal costs, is looking at all those different variables, looking at all the fixed costs, the variable costs, your worker, your employee costs, looking at all those different costs, seeing what your revenue is after all those costs and seeing what your profit is, and then determining how you're going to make the most profit. Okay. And I know, like, guys, I know it sounds confusing, but looking at the chart, it's all on there, and when you're able to like read through that, it should all make sense. Okay. And if it doesn't, ask me questions. Okay, if you want to look at a review for the cost of production, there's a crash course out there. It's in the slideshow, which is in Schoology. So if you want to watch it, you can. Oh,
Welcome to Craft.
I'm not going to watch it today, but you can. And then make sure you read the lessons for yesterday and today. Here's a chapter 5 review, and then this was the review guide that Miss Zaster did. They're a little different. They basically ask the same questions. So if you really want to study this, you can do both. But mine is the chapter 5 review. And then there's a Schoology quiz and supply that I have to finish, but it's in there. I'll finish it at the end of this hour. Do you guys have any questions? I know it's a lot, but it's really like the concepts themselves aren't that hard. It's just wrapping your head around them. I think once you have your head wrapped around it and understand, like, it's not that difficult. And really for you guys, think about, if you just want to think about a product that you're really familiar with, how much does it cost to make that product? And is the person selling it making any money off of it? That's basically the gist of what we just talked about here. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? So tomorrow we'll review with some samples in there so that you guys, hopefully it makes sense, and then the test will be ready tomorrow. And then you'll have until Monday to get that done. So, okay. Okay, that is all I've got for today.